Hello all my beautiful sisters from those other misters, welcome back to my channel. Today I am updating my eyeshadow project video, which still doesn't have a name. If you guys have any suggestions of what I should rename this series, I'm all ears, because I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I can't call it use it or lose it anymore because that's really not what I'm doing. So I'm kind of just going with project palettes, and I feel like that's boring as batshit. So, which look, to be fair, the types of looks I'm creating are pretty fucking boring as batshit. So maybe it's appropriate, but still boring. Anyway, if you do have suggestions, I'm all ears. So it's pretty much going to be a nude heavy video, but let's get into it. I want to talk about this Sigma palette again. This is the Rendezvous eyeshadow palette. It's from, there's a fly in here. Why? Why does this always happen to me? Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. So I think this palette, oh, wow. Should I even be filming this right now? I don't know. This palette is from holiday 2020? 2019? I don't remember. If you guys remember, feel free to let me know in the comments. So last month I used this palette, and one of my favorite looks I created using this palette. Now, I used this palette a few more times in November, but I didn't take photos. But basically what I did was I actually went through and I created the same look but with different shades. So I used the two matte shades I used as like the canvas for the look. So I always used the lighter shade in the crease and as like a transition shade, and then I used the darker matte in my outer corner. And then I basically went through and I used all of the shimmery shades as just like the shimmer over my eyelid. Now, what I can say is my favorite are actually these two, because they have a sort of like sparkly-ish finish, especially this one, which is this shade here. It is called Moonshine. Yes, Moonshine indeed. And it's stunning. It's really, really beautiful. It's, ooh, gorgeous. And this color is really nice as well. It's kind of like a taupey bronze. Now, when we get into the other shades in the palette, these two here, these are, look, they're a little bit lackluster. I would say they're like, the formula is similar to this one here, probably even the same. This one might have a little bit more sparkle in it, like micro sparkle. But I think in terms of the colors, this was the one that I just enjoyed the most out of those three shades that have that same formula. So this one was my favorite, and then I liked this one because of the color of it. The other two are really nice, don't get me wrong. I just found myself gravitating towards this one the most because this one is a bit too much color for me, in terms of like not just being this sort of neutral, like nudie-ish shade or like neutral-ish shade. And this one I felt was a little bit dark. So what I found with the palette is this is a sort of thing that I just want to pick up on like an easy day, and I want to create the same look all the time. I want to use this shade, and this shade 9 times out of 10. And then on that extra 1 time out of 10, I want to use this, this, and this. I love this palette. It is so boring and so basic, but it is so easy, and like there's no complexity to it. And that's kind of what I'm loving about eyeshadows at the moment. I'm just loving doing the same thing over and over with different palettes, which is exactly what you're about to see with a whole lot of photos. I'm sorry. Before I scooch over to show you guys some photos, I am going to introduce the first palette that I'm going to talk about in this video. It is this guy from Viseart. It's the Spritz Edit palette. I'm pretty sure we talked about this one last month. I have still been using it a bit. So today the look I'm wearing comes from this palette. It looks like I'm wearing just like one monotone color on my eyelid, and I pretty much am. but I'm wearing two different finishes. So I've got a matte in the crease in the outer corner and then a satin over the eyelid. And that is like, that's how I always like to do my makeup, based on my eye shape and, you know, what I know works for my eye shape in a technical way with makeup artistry techniques. That's how I like to do my makeup. So I pretty much always do it that way. Now, the colors that I'm wearing in my crease and my outer corner, I mixed this shade and this shade in the palette on a brush, and then I applied them, and then the shimmer over my eyelid is this shade and this shade. So it creates pretty much the exact same color, just one in a matte formula and one in a satin formula. And the thing that offers some dimension is simply the fact that these two are satins and they will reflect light, and I'm sitting in front of like 1,000 suns right now, so that there's that. I'm not like overly keen on the look that I created. I think it's a pretty color though. It's kind of like a, I don't know, it's a pinky brown. What can I say? It's like a pinky chocolate. Now I did create some, oh god, what am I doing with my phone? I did create some more looks using this palette, so let's scooch over. All right, so the next look that I created using this palette, I'm pretty sure I used this little trio just here. I particularly like this shade because it's nice and sparkly and it reflects a lot of light, and I really like that. I definitely think that the look is very soft. Again, I like it. I'm really not going for makeup that makes any sort of grand statement at the moment. Not with eyeshadow, anyway. In fact, really not with any of my makeup. I just really, really enjoy that sort of softer, more subtle look. So this is what I'm gravitating towards. The next look that I created, look, same kind of deal. I used this shade, and this shade. So the darker shade always goes in my outer corner, the lighter shade always goes in my crease, and then the satin, shimmer, metallic, glitter, whatever goes over my eyelid. That's like the general rule. I did really like this look as well. Again, it's plain Jane, boring and soft, and I enjoy it. And look at my hair. I mean, you can't even see it when you look at that picture because all you can see is hair, intense hair. So the looks that I created with this palette, obviously they're very, you know, soft and subtle and boring and all that jazz. And I don't have a problem with that because it's what I'm vibing. But I think this palette, the more I use it, the more I'm just, I don't know. I see some flaws with it. I can see how it could be so much more diverse just by swapping a few things out. Personally, these like two matte shades here and here, they're so similar. You can barely tell the difference when they're on the eye. You can barely tell the difference looking at them in the palette. I mean, one is more pink toned, one is more yellow toned, which is fine. But I feel like you could have a lot more diversity if you change that up. Now, if you look at this palette in terms of being in a makeup artist's kit, and that, you know, Viseart, I'm pretty sure they started out as a pro brand and have become more mainstream over the years. I feel like having those two particular shades in a palette is important in a makeup artist's kit. But when it's a like single consumer item, I feel like you would be better swapping it out for something that makes the palette more diverse and more just diverse, simply diverse. And I think I feel kind of the same with these pinky shades. Now, I'm not a fan of pink eyeshadows. I don't hate it. I like it more than I used to, but I just don't really, I don't know. For me, I don't really like them in the palette, especially since I've been using it so much. I don't feel like I gravitate towards it. I look at pinks with what else is going on here and I'm just like, no, no, I just don't feel like they go all that well with the other shades. So maybe my issue with this palette is the fact that I have been using it so much, and I should have already moved on from it. But I'm just really loving these sort of like brownie tones, and because the pans are so little and the palette is so cute and small, and I just like, yes, I love things that are this little and this compact, but also packed full of shades. There's 12 shades in here. It's fabulous. But I think I am now seeing the things that I would love to change about it simply because I've been using it so much. So this one, I'm keeping it. It's going back in my stash. Let's move on to two palettes that I used together. These guys. So I have the Violet Voss Matte Vibes palette here, which I'd never used. I've had it forever, never used it, and I whipped it out and used it. And I paired it with the Natasha Denona Joya palette because I'm pretty sure last month I was like, I need to decide what's happening with this. And I've decided, so that's good. I'm no longer on the fence. Let me talk about this one first and the looks that I created with it. I basically created the same look and I changed up like a couple of tones. So the first one I used Psych and Grody. What's a Grody? Does that say Grody? Does. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so I used these two shades in the crease in the outer corner, and I paired it with this shade, which is Star Bronze from the Joya palette. To be fair, it looks like what I'm wearing now. It was very pretty. I particularly like this shade in the palette. I also really like this one down the end, which I'll get to in a sec. My goodness, these are beautiful eyeshadows, very nicely pigmented, and they blend gorgeously. So I really enjoy that. The second look, I basically did the same thing, except I changed up the shade all over the lid for this one, which is called Peach Gold. Yes, Peach Gold. And I use the same dark matte in the outer corner, Grody, but I use this more peachy matte in the crease and like my transition. Looking at the images of these two looks, I do honestly think they look pretty much like the same thing. I suspect for most people, if I didn't tell them that they were different looks, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them. And that's something I say quite a lot when I'm talking about palettes and sort of picking out shades in them, that like the colors are so similar that you wouldn't actually be able to differentiate from them on the eye. And I think that's where a lot of palettes fall flat. You know, you look at this and you're like, oh, I love these colors are really nice. I get it, I love them too, but they look the same on the eye. So even with these being like different formulas, you know, this one's sort of like a shimmery shade with a slight sparkle in it, and this one is like more of a satin duochrome. I mean, you swatch them together and yeah, you can tell a bit of a difference, but they look so similar when they're then paired with like colors, basically similar colors. So yeah, I don't see the point in keeping this. I really liked the looks that I created with them, with this palette. These purples, I'll probably never use them, to be honest. This yellow, it does hurt me a little bit to get rid of it because I'm not really sure that I have anything quite like that, but I also know I can live my life without it. So this palette is going. The Matte Vibes palette, I'm definitely going to hold on to. I'm going to finish up this video with my two favorite palettes of the month. Both of these, okay, one I've had in my collection for a very long time but not used it, and I was kind of like, I should just get rid of these. And another one just came into my life very, very recently. So let's talk about I don't know where to start. I'm going to show them both to you because it's from one extreme to the other. I have the new Nars Bijoux palette here for holiday 2021, and I have one of the Colourpop quads in the shade Cream Soda. So the Colourpop quad is the one that I've had in my collection for quite some time. Obviously, the Bijoux palette only came out recently. Did this get brighter somehow? Why are you bright? We're not doing that. Too bright. So this, look, I have a couple of these, okay? And this is the only one that I've used so far, and I wasn't going to keep them. I was going to get rid of them, and then I thought, you know, look, this one I particularly like the color story of. If the formula's nice, I'm going to keep it because it might be a good one and done little quad for travel, and if it breaks, I'm not going to be heartbroken, whereas if this breaks, heartbreak. So, anyway, I tried this out and I fucking loved it. I actually used this quite a few times, and I just created the same look over and over because I really dug it. It was this shade here in the crease and the outer corner, and this shade here over the eyelid. And it was beautiful and sparkly and just so easy to wear. I just loved it. I love it. It's gorgeous. Creates a really beautiful like nude look with a bit of sparkle, bit of light reflection. What can I say? And also, look, Colourpop's formula is hit and miss, right? I've got a whole bunch of their palettes and they're fun. I genuinely do like them. For the price and what they can offer, I feel like Colourpop is not always a terrible idea. I think if the color story speaks to you, it's not going to break the bank to try it out. If it falls flat, it's definitely a shame, but sometimes it's worth trying. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, the reason why I was a bit sort of like, I should just get rid of these, is because one, I've got so many eyeshadows, but two, I was not super confident with the quality of these quads. I'm just going to put it out there. But this one, I haven't tried the other ones, so, you know, I can't speak to those. I can't speak to the collection across the board. But this one, whoo, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love this. I have a more mauvey one, and I think I have a more, potentially a more warm toned one in my room, or it might be more peachy toned. I can't remember, but they're in my drawer for future use. So don't be surprised if you see them coming up in the future. And as for the Nars Bijoux palette, guys, okay. Let me show you the look first. Let me show you the look. I've created a lot of looks with this, but I only took a photo of one. So I used this shade here, here, and up here, this sparkly duochrome gorgeousness. And I love the look. I will say, taking the photos, like, kind of annoys me because it never truly captures the sparkliness of some of these like special shades. And that's frustrating because I do feel like that's really what makes these sort of looks pop, especially when we're working with nude shades. Like sparkle basically is what makes them really pop and makes them really pretty, especially like that's what I like about them. So this palette actually, I will scooch over, Kat got it for me for Christmas along with one of the MAC holiday single eyeshadows, and I got her the same thing. And that's a very common thing for us to do, basically buy each other the same thing for Christmas, because often there are like there's at least one or two things that we both love, and it, you know, we just buy them for each other for Christmas. So this year, Kat's on a no-buy, and I know she wanted this palette so bad. She went in store and saw this palette a few weeks ago, and she sent me swatches of like some of these like special sparkly amazing shades in the palette, and fuck man, they're just beautiful. This one here, which is this shade right here, it's like Stylishly Merry. It's stunning. Man, this palette is really beautiful. So these 3 shades are like sparkly special Christmas gorgeousness, if you ask me. And she sent me like a little video, and she's like, oh my god, do we get each other this for Christmas? She assumed that I would want it, and she's not wrong, because I actually saw this online and I was like, oh my god, that's so amazing. Why does it have 2 greens in it? So the greens are actually what held me back from buying this, and I originally said to Kat, no, I'm not going to get it because it's got greens in it, and I never ever 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 want to wear them because they just don't suit my colouring. And she was like, okay, fair. And she didn't buy it for herself because she's on no buy, but I knew she wanted it, and like, it's a no-brainer. Of course I'm going to get it for her. Anyway, we were filming some wine time content, and we were talking about like holiday releases, and we realized we hadn't seen the MAC single eyeshadows for the holiday season in person, and we wanted to go see them. And I also did want to have a look at this palette in person because I'd only seen it online. When I went in store and I swatched it, I was like, yes, I do want it. It's a no-brainer for me. Of the whole palette, of the 16 shades in here, there's only 2 that I wouldn't gravitate towards, which are these 2 greens. I've done a lot worse than that with palettes. So yeah, I do want it. And my god, this palette is divine. I even said to Kat today, do you think this formula is better than Nars's normal formula in their eyeshadow palettes? Have they improved it further? Because these matte shades, they blend like, I don't even know, like magic. It's magic. It's witchcraft in the best possible way. I love this palette. I am so glad that this is what I chose for Christmas. And Kat was right. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I fucking love it. I will say, I can criticize something about this palette, other than the greens. Get rid of the greens completely. No, that's not fair, because Kat loves the greens and she's not really into these more purpley, reddy shades. I do feel that there needs to be one more shade that is similar in depth to this one, but just a different color, basically. I feel like potentially they could have swapped out maybe this shimmer, or even like one of these 2 very, very dark mattes for another transition shade, because I feel like these are actually the shades that you're going to see the most on an eyelid next to the shimmery shades. And I'm kind of the opinion that this shade is bland and boring in terms of texture compared to these 2 beautiful shades up here. So that's just my personal opinion. That's how I would edit the palette, but I still think it's beautiful. I have no regrets, and I do love it. And this is what I've been reaching for the most lately. The only reason I urged to go with this guy today is because I wanted to get one more look out of it, because I haven't really been using the pinky shades, and I thought, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's do it. Put it on your eyeball and then put it away. Alright guys, so that's it for my project palettes for November. I will be back with another video in December, but also another video you will see in December is going to be my eyeshadow palette collection and declutter video, along with the rest of my collection too, because, you know, I'm going to do those videos regularly, well, at least once a year, to help minimize my collection, and you guys can have a little sticky beak at what's in there as well, because I know that's always fun. Just seeing what someone's got in their drawers, in their goodie drawers. Okay, that's it. I'm wrapping it up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to leave your comments down below. Did you pick up this palette? What do you think about it? Have you tried any of the Colourpop quads? And what have you been putting on your eyes recently? Tell me the things. Are you digging the nudes like me? Are you vibing the colors? You tell me the things and I will read the comments. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.